What I'm going to go over today is pre-trip and post-trip inspections, and I'll explain why here shortly. But let's go ahead and take a look at the regulation, the actual regulation, what it says word for word. Now, everybody knows I've been giving everybody a little bit of devil about these low inspection times, right? Everybody's heard me talk about it. You've seen it come out on Qualcomm. But let's take a look at what it actually says. It says that every driver shall be satisfied that the motor vehicle is in safe operating condition. Review the last driver vehicle inspection report and sign the report only if the defects or deficiencies were noted by the driver who prepared the report. To acknowledge that the driver has reviewed it and that there is a certification that the required repairs have been performed. Now, what does this mean? This means that you're supposed to take the amount of time that is necessary to ensure that that vehicle is safe for operation on federal highways and on any highways in any state. Now, and it's also in your green books, in these books it actually tells you what to inspect in a pre-trip and in a post-trip. A post-trip is required. A post-trip is required. A third time, a post-trip is required. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at this. Everybody take this up. All right. This is a spreadsheet that we have developed. And what this spreadsheet does is, when I came up with the concept for this, is that this is going to track our drivers' pre-trip and post-trip inspection times. And let's just say right now Wilmington is the better terminal at this time on conducting detailed pre-trip inspections. Now, what does that mean? The amount of time that I'm seeing on here is telling me how much work that you're putting into inspecting the vehicles. All the names have been blanked out. But let's just say this, they are in alphabetical order. So, I have blanked out all of your personal information so as not to embarrass or single out any individual, but you can kind of figure out where you're at on the list. All right, so let's take a look here. We had one guy on Tuesday the 11th, done a 2-minute pre-trip. 2-minute pre-trip. We had a guy do a 3-minute pre-trip on Thursday the 11th. A 3-minute pre-trip on Saturday the 11th. And then we go ahead and we flip over to the back sheet. Now, does anybody see any zeros on there? All right. Now let's take a look at why are those zeros important? The book says you will do a pre-trip and a post-trip. If I see a 0, then that means you are in violation of federal motor carrier safety regulations. Now, if you did that post-trip but did not log it, again, you are in violation of federal motor carrier safety regulations, because then you are falsifying a log. So now let's take a look at that. DOT inspector pulls you over. He looks at your logs for the past 7 days. He sees a 0 post-trip or a 0 pre-trip. You just got dinged. One of two ways. You say, well, I did my pre-trip, but I was saving on my hours, saving on my time, falsifying law. Bam, you're out of service. So, these pre-trips and post-trips are extremely important. And they take as long as they take. Now, you've all heard me say I would like to see a minimum of 15 minutes where the driver, I actually sent it on Qualcomm, where the driver is actively engaged in inspecting the vehicle. They don't mean log in and then sit there, do your paperwork. actually get out and inspect that vehicle. Because once we're done here, we're going to go downstairs. I'm going to pick one person. I'm not going to single any one specific person out. I'm just going to pick a person, and you're going to show me how to do a pre-trip in accordance with everything that the book calls for. Now, why is that important? Because we're going to take the time on that. We're going to see how long it takes. Now, with that, we're going to take and go to the large stapled packet. This large stapled packet, the thick stapled packet, these are for your CSA violations. Every violation is listed in here. What your violations that the DOT is looking for. And it shows you your points. So let's say someone is texting while they're driving. That is 10 points on your CSA. Here's the kicker though. On that CSA, doesn't just affect you, it also affects the company. So for every 1 point that you receive, the company receives 3. So if you're caught talking on your phone, that's 10 points to you, 30 points to us as a company. And that affects every individual in here. How does that affect every individual in here? When our DOT numbers are run, they see what our errors are. It comes up as what's called a flash list. That flash list then shows that inspector what to look for on this company. Now we go back to this. On your front sheet, if you will look, Mark, you're new. Tell me what the trend is in the violations. The violations are listed on the far right-hand side of this paper. Tell me what the trend is that you see.
Speeding, brake adjustment.
Well, I mean by trend, more than one.
Load securement.
Lights.
Tires, frames, suspension, brake, seat belt.
Lights, tires, brakes. Lights, tires, brakes.
Things you should have caught on pre-trips.
Things that you should have caught on a pre-trip. Those violations are by the person. That's not just a list of violations. If you get whatever line it's on, that's what the violations that the driver received. So now as you look down through there, that's a systemic trend. And it's not just here. This has been company-wide for a number of years. A number of years. Key thing. Number of years. That systemic trend cost us money. It cost us money as a company. So, for the company to be able to have more revenue in the bank, the violations have to come down. See, not only do we have to pay for replacing these items, we have to pay for the fines that are involved in those. Again, that goes to our bottom line. So, something that you can catch on a pre-trip, 87%, 87%, again, 87% of all of our violations can be eliminated in a detailed pre-trip inspection. Again, 87% of our violations can be eliminated in a detailed pre-trip inspection. I want each driver to take the time. Now, how many were at the last, or the safety meeting where we just bumped the tire? Okay. Don, tell me how much air pressure's in a tire when you bump it.
When you bump?
Yeah, how much air pressure's in it?
Would it be in tire? 105 pounds? Would it be in?
When you bump it, what's the tire pressure when you bump it?
You don't know.
I don't know if we go thud.
Bingo, we do not know. That's what a tire gauge is for. Mike Fowler, how many tires on a truck? 18. Tracks, how many's on a tracks? 22. Okay, let's say on the standard 18-wheeler, if it takes you 1 minute for every 2 tires to inspect the condition of the tire and to stick the tire for air pressure, how many minutes will it take you?
11 minutes on a triaxle and 9 minutes on a 18.
Right, 9 minutes on the 18, 11 minutes on a 22-wheeler. Is 11 minutes worth you sitting on the side of the road for 3 hours?
Yep.
Brandon Brack. 5 minutes now will what?
Save you 5 hours later.
5 minutes now can save you 5 hours later. 5 minutes now can save you 5 hours later. That is 5 hours of you rolling. That is 5 hours of you earning revenue. That is 5 hours of the company earning revenue. That is 5 hours that we're not having to pay a contact team or a repair team to come out and repair a tire on the side of the road. Locating a vendor, getting that vendor to you, and the time that it takes to conduct the repair. Tires are one of our largest expenses in this company. Mike Coonsey, guess about how much we're spending a month on tires.
$2,000-3,000.
$2,000-3,000. Mr. McIntyre, would you please illuminate them?
A lot more.
You better go up a pile.
Mr. McIntyre? In the neighborhood of $20,000 a month.
That's on a good day.
That's on a good day. $20,000 per month. And 87% of those can be eliminated by each one of us in here when we get in that truck before we roll out. Sir, go ahead.
Sometimes the shop just like, nah, let it go. It's not ready to be changed yet.
Oh, I know on changing.
It's coming off.
Right, I understand that one.
And they tell you, go down the road with it, and all of a sudden, boom. It's like, hey, we told you, tire needs to be replaced.
Nothing you can do about that.
One of those, when the shop makes a determination on that, no, that's not on you. What I'm talking about is a run flat.
Yeah.
Or a low tire pressure, because let's take a look at one thing. Rubber is the only man-made substance that when it gets hot, it contracts. When it gets hot, it contracts. It does not expand. The air pressure inside gets higher because the tire is contracting. Once that tire contracts, depending on the pressure, that's why it's at 100 pounds on a tubeless, because they can go up to 110, and 80 on a tubed that we use for the containers. So stick those tires. Take that 9 minutes, because in that 9 minutes, you can look inside and check your brake linings to make sure they're the correct thickness. And you also, which is an out of service, the following is an out of service. It is an out of service. When you look inside them, the wheel hub, if you see oil, that is an out of service dead lining event. You get caught, sir.
Danny, I'm gonna, before we go any further, there was a comment made, and I wanna make sure everybody understands this. Everybody understands this. That you're saying if the shop tells you to continue on with something that you, as the driver, or we call it the captain of the ship, is not comfortable, just not tires, but anything on that vehicle, if you are not comfortable and it is not safe to go out on the road, you can make that call, and trust me, there's other people in the shop that you can get involved with, that if you feel, again, if that unit is not safe for the road, we are not going to tolerate putting a piece of equipment out on the road that is not safe, that can endanger you or the public.
Now, does everybody understand that?
I agree with that.
Mr. McIntyre has said, you are the captain of that ship. That is your ship. You don't feel it's safe, don't take it out the gate. Do not take it out the gate if you feel it's unsafe. Dispatch is standing right back there. Mr. Hawthorne is standing right back there. Randy Hawthorne is standing back there. He's hearing this be said. He is not going to sit down there and say, override myself or Randy McIntyre. Well, it's got to go. You got to go now. The tire's not safe. I can't go. He's not going to try to override that. Now, why is that important? These other sheets, and everybody looked at this like, oh my God, this is a pre-trip inspection. What is this? I'm in the process. I'm going to be laminating these. These are going to go in your trucks to be used as just a checklist for you to go by, a reminder. You don't have to check it off and turn it in. You can take your grease pencil and check it on once it's laminated. I'm going to laminate them. And you can check it off. You know, I checked that, I checked that, I checked that. Now, if you notice right here in about the middle of this page, this says, per federal motor carrier safety regulations, the following items are required for tractor and trailer. Now, right above that, it says steering mechanism. You see out there beside that, it says per federal motor carrier safety regulations, because they'll put that there with under the hood. Everything from this point down is right here. It's in this book as required under your vehicle inspections. When you get dinged on this, because of this, it means you didn't do this. Now let's say that again 3 times fast. If you get dinged on inspection from this, it's because you did not do this. So who's that violation really need to set on? Us, the driver. I've been guilty of it. I'm not any better than anybody sitting in here. I took a hammer, bumped my tire, climbed in the cab, and rolled. But when I started checking my tires every day at the gauge, and there's a few guys in here that made fun of me because of that, I know they did, because I heard them, they ducked to my face. I stopped having blowouts. Because I knew what the condition of my tires were before I left the shop, before I left here. When you're checking under the hood and you're looking at that steering mechanism, let's say it's got loose bolts and it comes apart. 65 miles an hour, 80,000 pounds. Can anybody tell me what the weight ratio is on an impact is? 6 times 8 is how much? 480,000 pounds of impact pressure.
Seatbelt's not gonna do you much good, is it?
No. 65 miles an hour, 80,000 pounds, 480,000 pounds of impact pressure. I'm good, but I'm not that good. I can't survive that one. So, this is what's required on your pre-trip inspections. Under the hood is what is called industry-wide standard. You know, you're going to check your oil, you're going to check your radiator fluid, you're going to check your belts, check the condition of your drive belts, your alternator belts, look at your air filter indicator to make sure that's not gone up into the red, that you need a new air filter, those type of things. These are what's known as your industry standard. Down here is what is required by the book. No ifs, ands, or buts. But, I've got to get to the sawmill. But, I've got to get to IP. But, you need to do this or you're going to get a violation. Buts don't count. Take the time, take the time, take the time. When I run this report, I want to see time. Very few drivers that are among us right now get close to their 70 hours. I've gotten close to my 70 out here, but here's the thing. Over a 6-day work week, if we each take just a half an hour to really check our vehicle, you're going to lose 3 hours throughout the week. Chris, what's your average number of hours you put in a week on the clock driving and on duty?
Driving and on duty?
Yeah, what's your normal time? 60 hours?
Well, yeah, 50, 55.
55. So can you afford to take that 3 hours for you not to have any violations?
No violations?
Well, I'm saying to cut your violations. Let's say cut your violations. Can you afford to take that 3 hours not to be sitting on the side of the road for 5 hours? 3 hours over 6 days versus 5 hours in 1 day. Which makes more sense? Which is more logic? Logic is the dictate of reason. If we think about this logically, and we take that 3 hours to actually do our time throughout the week on our pre-trips, we're not going to have as many violations. We're not going to have as many breakdowns. And I do not have to stay awake at night worrying about the guys I work with, the guys and gals I work with, because they are in an unsafe vehicle. Now, are there any questions about these? Now, let's take a look at this right here. This book, the book.
Packet.
Like I said, for every one of those points that you get, those points stay on you for 3 years. They stay on the company for 3 years.
You've got a third one.
Right. Here's how it works. On the company side, like I said, you get 3 points for every one, right? Or we get as a company, we get 3 points for every 1 point you get. So for that first 6 months, we've got 3 points. Then it drops down to 2 points, and then at the 1 year mark, it drops down to 1 point, and that 1 point stays on there for 3 years. Now, in 6 months, Miss Lori, how much business can we lose from shippers looking at our CSA scores? Almost half of our business. We can lose almost half of our business if shippers, who they're insurance companies. Now think about this. CSA is now going to the insurance companies. CSA goes to the insurance companies. Any company that's going to use us as a carrier, it can be dictated by their insurance company whether they can use us or not. That is a fact. You own XYZ insurance company. She owns XYZ trucking company. You can tell her, if you use this company here, we're not going to insure you because they are unsafe. Because we get what's known as a conditional rating. If we get a conditional rating, that means in the eyes of the public, we are an unsafe company. We collectively would be considered an unsafe company. So therefore, anybody who's going to ship anything down the road does not want an unsafe company carrying their products, because then their products can't get to their customers. Sir.
And it's been years, because we've worked very hard on getting our scores where we want them. Even through a broker, we took a load through C.H. Robinson one time. The customer found out who was going to be hauling their product from C.H. Robinson. They called us back and took it away. So even through a brokerage, and it's happened to us. They'll take it away in a heartbeat. So,
Now,
we're not immune.
nationally, and I'm going to show you exactly how important this is. Every Monday we have a report that comes out that shows what's called our SAFER score. The SAFER score gives a snapshot of the company's safety on a weekly basis, industry-wide, and this is on the web. It has nothing to do, it's nothing that we've generated. This is on the web, and this is what everybody looks at to see how safe a company is. Nationally, most companies are at about a 20% safety rating. 20 and above. Now, the higher the number, the worse the company. Pay attention to this. The higher the number, the worse the company is. Oh, their safety rating is 20%. Well, that's not good. Ours is at 6.5. We are better than the industry standard. But we can do better. That number needs to come down. The better the number, the more work we get, the more money we make. Collectively. And all of this hinges on 30 minutes a day on you.
I've got something to add onto this here.
Sir?
I took a load to Rock Hill one time, one of the old trailers that did not have no landing gear, cradle.
Right.
To where it would secure the landing gear.
Mhm.
And on the way back, I got popped at the DOT scale in Rock Hill. And that's the only thing they could find that was not properly secured because I didn't have the cradle there.
Right.
So what I do now, I carry a bungee. And if it does not have a cradle, I'll bungee that landing gear to where it is secured.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you, Rodney. So every driver out here from this day forward, and I'm gonna put it, it's gonna be on tape, so it's gonna be, you can't say I didn't see it. Or I didn't say it, and you didn't hear it, and I know I'm loud enough. If it does not have a cradle for the landing leg handle, strap it down, and if it belongs to us, when it comes in, it gets written up, and we'll down it until it's repaired. That's a good idea. Thank you. That way we make sure that we're in compliance all the way around.
Yep.
Had the cranks that were added on to it or changed, and they were too long or too short to fit the cranks.
Well, then again, write it up, and we'll have maintenance either move the cradle, or we'll do something to fabricate so that we've got something that makes it be what we need it to be.
Who's got another comment?
Sir? Oh, I thought you had another comment. All right, questions. Let's get some questions. I want some discussion on this.
Is every truck issued a air gauge? I was looking for one the other day, I couldn't find it.
No, they are not issued. But now here is what we come up. We were going to buy some and put it out here. We have bought some, and they disappeared. All right. So here's what's going to happen. You want a tire gauge, and Mr. McIntyre and I have spoken about this before. You take the time to go get a tire gauge. You personally, we will reimburse you for that. I want you to go buy the tire gauge that you're going to want to have to use. It needs to be a double chuck. Double chuck, which means that you push it in or you can pull back to get both tire pressures. Now here's something that I've been catching out there, because I have been going out there inspecting. Some on the 53 footers, we've got the old steel wheels that only have the two holes in it. You got a hole here and a hole here. All right. And I've been going there purposely checking to see if I could see if those tires have been being checked. I found several trailers that have not been being checked. Their tire pressures have not been being checked, and I can tell you how I know. The air valve on the back tire is not lined up with one of the only two holes in the entire rim.
I've run across that and had maintenance fix it for me.
So if I see you pull out of here and I know that you did not have that tire changed, I know you didn't check that tire. Can you guess the pressure in a tire that you can't get a valve stem on? You can't. Have maintenance turn that tire where it needs to be so the tire pressure can be checked. Because if it blows up going down the road, it's going to have to come off anyway, right? Check your tires, check your tires, check your tires. Brakes, check the thickness of your brake pads, check the adjustment. If they're not adjusted correctly, have maintenance to adjust them before you go out. On anything out there, ma'am.
I got a truck with this brakes, how you check those?
They check the thickness of the pads.
No, I'm talking me, myself.
Yeah, you can't check them in pre-trip.
Yeah, you can't check them. There's a hole
this.
under there.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll need to get more clarification on that. Thank you. You will have it, and I will put it out on Qualcomm. Sir.
I'm under the impression that I was reading somewhere that these disc brakes actually stop a truck 39% quicker.
That is correct.
And they do work a lot better than those old drum brakes.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. They will stop you 39% faster. That is why. So once I get the how we can check those, or how maintenance can check those for you, maybe we need to set a schedule for getting those done by maintenance and getting them checked. So,
Supposedly a hole under there. But
Okay.
I've been dying to get pulled over.
all right, well, yeah, that's a good point. We need to get clarification on that, so I'll get you the clarification on it. Next. If I don't know something, I ain't gonna stand here and try to BS my way through it. I'll get clarification and I'll let you know what it is. Next, what's next? Hit me with something.
The disc brake got a little plug, doesn't it? Chirps when it's down, worn down.
Well, yeah, they've got the little device on the inside that will chirp once they get worn down, but we need to make sure they're safe before operation. You know, at least we need, if that's the only way they can be checked, then we need to set a schedule or something to have them checked. Next thing, on trailers. This is something that's been coming to me, and it does go into safety. It does go into your inspections. Drivers get out there and they pick up a trailer that's got placard scars on it. Now, what I mean by placard scars, it's got pieces of placard all over them. If that trailer's empty, that's illegal for you to have those pieces of placard. You know, it's still got a piece of a skull on it, or it's got a part of a number on it. That's a fine. That's a violation. The placards, once that has been delivered, those placards must come off. They must come off. Because when somebody gets in Michigan and they go up there and they pick up a trailer that's been dropped and there's got just pieces on it, well, they're standing out there having to scrape it all off. Yes. And if you've been in Michigan in the middle of winter,
It's no fun when those.
they're not gonna come off, are they, guys? Are they gonna come off?
When they get cold, they don't come off.
That's right, they don't come off.
They put them on right, they don't have that problem. Take your backing, back across, put it on the back, then you got the little edge, you pull that one edge, the whole thing pops off.
Okay, well, you're gonna give us a class on that. You just got pegged.
Jimmy, right on.
You just got pegged, do a class.
When it comes to maintenance, it's a whole different story. Jimmy, in the summer, winter,
But-
it's still break.
But remember, those have got to come off. Now, I learned this the hard way, and Mr. McIntyre is a witness to it, Bill Lowe's a witness to it. I learned this the hard way. You picking up a trailer that's been dropped, you don't know if it might have been backed into. You can't see inside of it. If that trailer is empty, I suggest you go up inside of the trailer that is empty and look to ensure that there are no holes. I learned this the hard way because someone backed into a trailer that I was picking up. Matter of fact, John and I know this because John and I are working the account together. And someone had backed into the side of the trailer, broke the top rail loose from the roof. You couldn't see it from the outside that it had a hole in it, but you can only see it from the inside. I did not get up inside the trailer. I did not inspect inside the trailer. And therefore, because John was running the account that day, he lost time. He had switched trailers. He had to come back here, get another trailer, go back, get it loaded, and then still try to meet the customer needs. Now, that was my failure to my coworker. That was my failure to our company. What you do today will affect someone else tomorrow. What you do with these trucks today will affect someone else tomorrow. Linda, when you started working, did you drive the same truck every day?
Here?
Yes. When you started driving here, did you drive the same truck every day? Until you got an assigned truck. So you were getting into trucks that other guys had been driving, right? So you didn't know the condition of that vehicle before you got in it. It wasn't your regular truck. You didn't have a rapport or knew the truck well, correct?
Right.
So you don't know what kind of a shape they left the truck in for you.
Right.
Now, Mike gets into the truck that you drove the day before. Does he know the condition that you left it in? Why? Until he inspects it, He does not know. What you do today will affect another driver tomorrow, either by a trailer or by a tractor. This is important, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm looking at this not to get on your case. This is not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to cut our violations and to ensure that each of you guys are in the safest vehicle possible out there on that road, and we lower our violations. Now, everybody goes, well, you were a driver, you know, can't you cut me a little slack in this? No, actually, that makes me even, I will use this term, I don't like to use it, but it makes me more dangerous because I just know enough just to get myself in trouble. Because I know what I should be doing, just as each of you know what we should be doing collectively. So I'm looking, I'm watching, I'm inspecting, and I'm turning this into your terminal managers every week. If I see a 2-minute or a 3-minute, it tells me Bernie didn't inspect that truck good enough. Then Bill's gonna call you in and say, why do I see 2 minutes on a pre-trip? Why do I see 0 minutes on a post-trip? One of two things happen. You either falsified a log or you did not inspect the equipment. Either way, you're gonna be fined. You are going to be fined. You are going to be fined in a roadside inspection. Money's too tight nowadays, everybody. Let's keep our money where it needs to be, and that's in our pockets, not giving it to the federal government over taking 30 minutes of your time to inspect your truck. So, Travis Midget, you're my inspector today. We're going downstairs, and you're going to show me how to inspect a truck.
Nothing against MCO. I work for other trucking companies, ain't done the same thing. They put a lot of emphasis on the driver doing inspections, pre-trip, post-trip, and they put a lot into being on duty at the time you do it. Even fueling is required to go on duty. But I had never understood why the trucking industry expects a driver to get out here and do all this work and not get paid for it.
Roy?
I mean, and I don't want it to sound like I'm grading the MCO or anybody.
Right.
It's all the trucking companies.
Right.
I just had never understood how they can expect, but you take a regular worker that works about an hour, he comes in, he or she comes in and works all day, and they get paid for everything they do, but a driver gets paid by per load.
Right. And that is what rates.
I'm not criticizing MCO for it. It sounds like them, but I'm not.
No, I understand what you're talking about, industry-wide,
But I have never had nobody in the trucking industry explain to me why they put so much on the driver, but yet the driver does it for free and spends 30 minutes out of it. If he does a proper pre-trip inspection, it's probably 30 to 40 to 45 minutes.
You're right.
Every day for morning and afternoon, another 8 to 15 minutes on fuel the truck, depending on how fast the pump.
Right.
Fuel in the truck.
Okay, let's tell you how this is configured. What is, a factor was then put in place to calculate the amount of time that is spent with your pre-trips and post-trips and figured into what is called your trip rate. So you are being paid for that, it's just in here that you're not. That is actually in here that you're not being paid for. Because I've even had this mentality myself. If my wheels aren't turning, I'm not earning. How many of you thought that? If my wheels aren't turning, I'm not earning.
I think everybody's thought that.
Right. Well, that's not true. That's why it is figured in that when you get to a shipper or a place where you're gonna make a pickup, they say, okay, we got to give them 2 hours, right? How many of you heard that? We got to give them 2 hours, and then you start getting money at that time, that 2 hours, after that 2 hours. That's because that's already figured in to your mileage rates, to your pickup rates. If you get paid, you know, when you pick up, you know, let's say you get paid $5 for a pickup, whatever that is, or a bump in the dock. All that's figured in on top of the rate that you're already receiving on your mileage or on your trip pay. Now, industry-wide, things are changing. And you also got to take a look at, are we going to be competitive with this company down the street? So here's another thing that each of you got to think about. Not just on top of your trip pay, you've got to take a look at your benefits pay too. Now, you say my benefits pay. Who's single and the company's paying the majority of your health insurance? Okay. Now, Mike, how much is the company paying for your insurance on a yearly basis? Do you know?
Not on a yearly basis, I know it's $9.71 a week.
That's what your cut is. That's what you're paying, right? All right, let's take a look at this. On top of what you're getting paid for your trip pay, the company is paying approximately $6,500 per year per person sitting in here for your health insurance. That's on the driver. That in here, we have to change our mentality. We have to change our thinking. I'm not saying it on my paycheck, so I'm not getting it, but we are getting it. There are other ways, because what if we say, okay, you pay for your own health insurance? Who wants to pay for their own health insurance? Raise your hand.
I'm paying my own. It's $1,100 for myself and my wife.
Not nowadays.
Okay.
$13,000 a year.
Okay. So, MCO is paying you for that. You're just not thinking in this terminology. That's why they put so much into your health insurance, because that's what's called a pre-tax benefit. You are not being taxed on that. That's a benefit that you are receiving that you're not seeing, but you're not also calculating that into your pay. All of that's figured in on these trip pays. All that's figured in on the rate that the company has to put out there to the customer. And in order to make us competitive, it has to be at a certain level, or we don't work. If we don't work, we don't eat. And I like to eat. Okay? So, Miss Lori, am I about correct in that? Am I pretty close on that one?
Hey, let me make a comment. Let me just tell you guys one thing. I sit on the meetings every Monday morning, and it is discussed on a regular, Danny sits in, Lori sits in. It is discussed on a regular business meetings about pay, competitive pay, different runs that we're doing. And right now, Lori, I call her Miss Lori King, she is really, Danny has put Lori in charge of monitoring, Lori, am I correct? And keeping up with it where we did not have that before. And she's talking to every one of you people in here about, what you think can make the company better, on and on. So it is not being ignored. You might think, but it is. But I know if you bring it attention to somebody, and I'm looking at Howard while I'm saying this, because there's a lot of things that we do around here, that you're put on different runs, and we really don't understand why that we're, put on different runs. But trust me, it is talked about on a weekly basis.
My door is always open. Or give me a call. I'm happy to hear any feedback you guys have. Any improvements we can make. Things, if there's things we're doing right, love to hear it. If there's things we need to improve on, I'd love to hear that too. So give me a call.
Now, is that just staying competitive with all the local companies around here, like Florida Rock and Service Transport, with their rates and benefits, where the grass is greener over here, so all the people are going to go over there? Is that how you guys are trying to figure things out? That
we want to keep things fair. We want to keep things competitive, and we want you guys to feel like this is home, this is family, and we want to treat you right, because you are part of the MCO family, and yes, that's what we're working on.
I'll just say this, is that, yes, we do look at what everyone else is doing within, just not in the Wilmington area, but as you know, we have terminals up and down the East Coast. So we do look at regions of what they're doing. And I'll just say this, is that we see all these wonderful ads, we see all these things that are saying, hey, come with us and we'll pay you this huge bonus, or we'll pay you this or that. I guess I've always been the person, if everybody's that desperate, there's something there you're not seeing, okay? So guys, just be careful. Trust me, I've been with MCO a while now, and it is, again, I have to say this, it is looked at, it is not ignored. You can say this, and I'll say this for Danny McComas or the MCO group, is that I have never been without a paycheck here. Now, I don't know how many other people that you've been out in the trucking business. There's been times that your paycheck has been missing. Where's my paycheck? Am I correct, guys? Okay. Have you ever missed a paycheck here at MCO Transport? Okay, that's something to be said in the trucking business, guys.
Just also keep in mind also these bonuses that they say they're gonna pay you.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they're gonna pay you one lump sum bonus.
Yeah.
That's paid over a year time. So
There are a lot of strings attached to that.
a lot of strings.
There's a reason why I'm here at MCO, because last year I ran over the road for over a year and a half, and my whole best time I've taken home. Let's just put it this way: my W-2s for 2013 was barely over 20,000. Long haul, out 3 weeks at a time. Practically ran over 120,000 miles for that year. I brought home 20,000.
That's pretty bad.
With Schneider,
That's the reason why I'm
JB,
here.
You don't wanna say what.
let's take a look at these companies.
I'll tell
We,
you.
the larger companies,
Couple checks and I'm going.
you get what, 1,500, 2,000 miles a week with the larger companies. Now we have to take a look at those companies in comparison to what we're getting here. How many are you getting almost $2,000 or 2,000 miles a week just driving local? Just local.
We're regional.
Well, I know that if you get 6 loads of pulp a day, you're right at 300 miles, times that by 5 days, 1,500 miles a week. You're doing as many miles a week as some of those guys are doing over the road with the larger companies, and therefore you are actually making more money.
It's pretty
You're
sad
sitting at the
because
dock like 5-6 hours and
Bingo.
waiting at shippers and receivers all day long. I
Right.
run into them guys.
So it's all based upon mentality. It's based upon the thought process. What am I getting? What am I receiving here let me give you this. This is the only company, literally, that during the recession, when the downturn happened, they did not lay off one employee, not one driver got furloughed. The company did not shut down. It did not downsize. It did not cut your pay. Hello? Is that worth something?
And a lot of them, they're giving you a raise, but then they cut the pay early.
Bingo.
believe me, I've been getting postcards from my old company saying, okay, we're paying for orientation now. I never got paid for orientation. And all of a sudden, oh, we got a sign-on bonus. It's like, oh, now you're gonna have sign-on. They're trying to get people to come back with them. I'm like, no. I said, here working at MCO, I made more money in 7 months than I made a whole year with that other company.
It's just like,
That's pretty sad.
you got to deal with various people's personalities here, and all this goes into what your day is going to be like. You know, when I was being dispatched by Bill, you know, I never knew what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. Once you get trained on all these things, you want it that way. Why? Because it makes you a more valuable person within the company. It helps you out in the company. It allows you to make more money. So if you're not trained on something specifically, ask for the training. The more items in the company that you can be trained on, you can fill in for somebody who, I've filled in on chips before. Hadn't I, guys? I filled in on chips. I filled in on ore. Make yourself valuable to the company because the company values you. And that is why we're having this discussion about pre-trip, post-trip inspections. Make yourself valuable to the company because the company values you.